Hi guys, it's Pete aka On a Retro Tip, and I am back with another 10 facts. This time it's for a game that's very close to my heart, well the first one is at least, ToeJam Earl. If you haven't played this game then I'd thoroughly recommend doing so, as in my opinion it's one of the finest Mega Drive games out there. ToeJam Earl was developed by Johnson Vorsanger Productions, later renamed ToeJam Earl Productions, and published by Sega for the Mega Drive. Released in 1991, the game revolves around the titular ToeJam Earl, two aliens whose spaceship, the Rapmaster rocket, has crash landed on Earth. To leave Earth and subsequently get back to their own planet, Funkatron, they must travel through 25 levels to collect the 10 parts of their ship which have been scattered throughout. Players can assume the role of either ToeJam or Earl, but in two-player co-op is where the game really shines. In fact, I'd say that this is one of the best 16-bit co-op games available. They have personalities based upon 90s stereotypes, with them being rappers and using many 90s California-inspired slang terms. The player travels between levels by using elevators, one of which is hidden on each level and must be found before being used to advance. If a player falls off the edge of a level, they'll plummet to the level below. Although this doesn't damage the character's health, it can be a pain to get back up, and it isn't uncommon to fall down several levels at one time. On their way they'll encounter numerous humans, both friendly and dangerous, and collect items in the form of presents. Presents contain random power-ups which may be useful or may be a hindrance. Although I'm only really a fan of the first game, a sequel was released for the Mega Drive called Panic on Funkatron, which was sadly changed to be a platformer, and saw a third title on the Xbox called Mission to Earth. So, have you played any games in the series? And if so, did you know these 10 facts? ToeJam and Earl were originally called TwoPlayer and Whirl. When designer Greg Johnson told programmer Mark Vorsanger their names, he misunderstood what Greg had said and put them into the game as ToeJam and Earl. Later, when the game was shown to Sega, Greg realised that the names were wrong, but Sega liked the names and so they decided to keep them. Long before games like the recent No Man's Sky were doing it, ToeJam and Earl was procedurally generated. Well, it is if you want it to be. The game features two game modes: fixed mode, in which the levels are pre-created and will be exactly the same every time, and a random mode, which instead features procedurally generated levels. So adds some variety to the game and also some welcome longevity. This can be a pain sometimes though, as I have gotten into a few difficult situations due to the random positioning of ship pieces or elevators, as on rare occasions they'll be on their own tiny island separate from any main body of land. A beta copy of a Dreamcast ToeJam and Earl game was found, a version of ToeJam and Earl 3 made from before development was moved to the Xbox. The game was scrapped in early development stages, but a playable version does exist, albeit with several bugs and incomplete assets. It was released online in 2013, so you can play it on your Dreamcast, and people even make some quite authentic mock cases for the game. The original title for the third game, Mission to Earth, was All Funked Up. This was changed due to concerns from several people that the name was inappropriate. If you look in the background during the game's ending, when the duo are rapping for the Earthlings, you can see posters that still say All Funked Up. One of the great features of the original game was that the end credits were actually playable. Once all the ship pieces have been found, ToeJam and Earl head back to their home planet Funkatron, and the player walks around town being congratulated by several welcoming aliens. There's one green alien with blonde hair and a blue dress. When the player gets close to her, she'll say "No hedgehogs around here." This is a reference to Sega's other mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog. ToeJam and Earl's gameplay was partly inspired by Rogue. The game's creator Greg Johnson became a fan of Rogue as a university student. After he left university, he worked on games for EA, including 1986's Starflight. After completing Starflight 2, Johnson conceived ToeJam and Earl, firstly as characters, then the game's plot, while on a beach in Hawaii. His idea was an amalgamation of Rogue's gameplay aspects and Starflight's science fiction premise. In February 2015, Johnson announced a new title, ToeJam Earl Back in the Groove, which is being developed independently from Sega and was funded by a Kickstarter campaign, which I proudly backed. The game revisits the format of the original game, featuring 2D character models on 3D worlds with an overhead perspective, and is planned to support online multiplayer. The game exceeded its funding target of $400,000 in March 2015, ending on just over $500,000. The game will feature old school skins for ToeJam Earl, the Hyper Funk Zone from Panicon Funkatron, and bonus playable characters such as ToeJam's cousin Geek Jam, Earl's mum, Luanda and Peebo from ToeJam Earl Panicon Funkatron, and even Letitia from ToeJam Earl 3 Mission to Earth. ToeJam Earl had an awesome funky soundtrack which has been described as both jazz funk and as hip hop. For the game's unique sound, composer John Baker was inspired by Herbie Hancock and the Headhunters. The designers wanted to include a two-player mode so they could play together, and considered ToeJam Earl a two-player game with a one-player option. While Sega believed that hardware limitations would prevent the co-op feature from working, Vorsanger successfully implemented it. In a 1992 interview with Sega Visions, Johnson stated that the characters ToeJam Earl evolved as reflections of his and Vorsanger's personalities. Vorsanger disagreed and called the characters two different aspects of Greg's personality. Steve Purcell, who worked at LucasArts and created the characters Sam and Max, has stated that he contributed character designs to the game. Remember the Mega Drive's equivalent of Nintendo's Super Scope, the Menacer? Well, ToeJam Earl appeared in a spin-off light gun game, Ready Aim Tomatoes, which was one of the included minigames for the Menacer 6-game cartridge. The duo also have a cameo in the Mega Drive game Art Alive, which was a bit like Mario Paint on the SNES, although shit because you couldn't actually use a mouse and you had to draw using the D-pad. So there we have my 10 ToeJam Earl facts, and we're going to do something a little bit different here.
I want to play a game.
In ToeJam Earl, when a character levels up, they're awarded a new title, starting out as a wiener, then advancing to Doofus, Poindexter, Peanut, Dude, Bro, Homie, Rap Master, and finally Funk Lord. So, the number of facts that you knew in this video tells you your corresponding title. As there are only 9, I need to add one above Funk Lord, and what could be the ultimate Funk Lord? That's right, Rick James. So tell me which one you got in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Check out my other facts videos, innit?